April 19th in history. In 1529, the Holy Roman Empire was fracturing over faith. Catholic and Lutheran princes clashed at the Diet of Speyer, where the emperor sought to crush the spread of Reformation doctrine. 6 princes and 14 free cities rose and formally protested the Catholic majority's vote to revoke Lutheran tolerances, a defiant declaration that coined the word Protestant forever. That single act of dissent split Western Christianity permanently. The Protestant label born at Speyer would define Lutherans, Calvinists, and hundreds of denominations shaping the modern world. In 1587, England and Spain teetered on the edge of war. King Philip II was secretly massing the mightiest naval fleet Europe had ever seen. English Vice Admiral Francis Drake sailed boldly into Cadiz harbor, torching over 30 ships and destroying mountains of vital supplies meant for the invasion fleet. Drake's raid delayed the Spanish Armada by a full year, giving England precious time to prepare, a turning point that shaped the fate of empires. In 1770, Lieutenant James Cook sailed HMS Endeavour into uncharted Pacific waters. His mission? Mapped the unknown southern coastline of a vast, mysterious continent. On April 19th, a lookout spotted land, rugged green cliffs rising from the sea. Cook charted the eastern coast, claiming it for Britain and naming it New South Wales. Cook's sighting triggered British colonization of Australia, transforming the continent forever, displacing indigenous peoples who had lived there for over 65,000 years. In 1775, tensions between American colonists and British forces had reached a breaking point. Midnight riders raced through Massachusetts, warning that redcoats were marching toward Lexington. At dawn on April 19th, colonial militiamen faced British redcoats on Lexington Green. Shots rang out. Then, at Concord's North Bridge, farmers and soldiers exchanged fire, starting the Revolutionary War. Those first shots echoed across the world. The American Revolution had begun, ultimately birthing a new nation and inspiring democratic movements for centuries to come. In 1839, Europe's great powers gathered in London to settle the fate of a young nation. Belgium had broken free from the Netherlands, and the continent needed peace. On April 19th, diplomats from Britain, France, Austria, Prussia, and Russia signed the Treaty of London, declaring Belgium permanently neutral and independent, guaranteed by all signatories. 75 years later, Germany invaded Belgium, calling the treaty a scrap of paper. Britain declared war, and the Great War began. One signature changed the world. In 1865, Washington, D.C. stood paralyzed by grief. 4 days after President Lincoln's assassination, the nation prepared to say farewell to its fallen leader. On April 19th, a solemn procession carried Lincoln's flag-draped coffin through Washington. Tens of thousands lined the streets as the cortege moved slowly toward the Capitol Rotunda. Lincoln's funeral unified a fractured nation in shared mourning. His legacy, preserving the Union and ending slavery, would shape America for generations to come. In 1882, Charles Darwin spent his final days at Down House in Kent, England, the quiet country estate where he had spent decades unraveling the mysteries of life itself. On April 19th, Darwin died peacefully at age 73. His 1859 masterwork, On the Origin of Species, had already forever changed how humanity understood life, through evolution by natural selection. Darwin's legacy reshaped biology, medicine, and anthropology forever. His insight that all life shares common ancestry remains the cornerstone of modern science. In 1904, Toronto was a booming commercial hub. Its downtown core was packed with brick warehouses and bustling factories. A fire erupted in a neckwear factory on Wellington Street. Fanned by fierce winds, it devoured 122 buildings across 20 acres through the night. No lives were lost, but damage exceeded $10 million. Toronto rebuilt rapidly, emerging with wider streets and modern fireproof buildings. In 1933, America was gripped by the Great Depression. Banks had collapsed, unemployment soared, and desperate citizens hoarded gold, draining reserves. On April 19th, President Roosevelt signed an executive order banning private gold hoarding and halting exports, severing the dollar from gold entirely. The move let Roosevelt expand the money supply, helping lift America from depression. It redefined global finance and foreshadowed today's fiat currency system. In 1943, Warsaw's Jewish ghetto held 60,000 survivors, surrounded by Nazi forces preparing a final brutal deportation to death camps. On April 19th, SS troops entered to liquidate the ghetto. Roughly 700 resistance fighters, armed with smuggled pistols and homemade bombs, opened fire, holding them off for nearly a month. The uprising became the largest act of Jewish revolt in the Holocaust, a lasting symbol of human dignity and resistance against annihilation that still resonates worldwide. In 1956, the tiny Mediterranean Principality of Monaco prepared for a royal union unlike any before, uniting Hollywood glamour with centuries-old European royalty. On April 19th, Grace Kelly walked the aisle of St. Nicholas Cathedral, exchanging vows with Prince Rainier III, watched live by 30 million television viewers worldwide. The wedding of the century transformed Monaco's global image and made Princess Grace an enduring icon of elegance, bridging cinema and royalty forever. In 1961, Cold War tensions gripped the Americas. A secret CIA plan was underway, training Cuban exiles to topple Fidel Castro's revolutionary government. On April 17, 1,400 CIA-trained exiles landed at the Bay of Pigs. Within 3 days, without promised air support, they were surrounded and forced to surrender. The defeat humiliated President Kennedy and pushed Cuba closer to the Soviet Union, setting the stage for the Cuban Missile Crisis just 18 months later. In 1965, Silicon Valley buzzed with possibility. Engineer Gordon Moore worked at Fairchild Semiconductor, where tiny chips were reshaping the future of computing. Moore published a landmark article predicting transistor counts on chips would double every year, a bold forecast that crystallized the pace of the entire semiconductor industry. Moore's law guided chip design for 50 years, powering smartphones, the internet, and AI. It became technology's defining drumbeat, and its limits now define our greatest engineering challenge. In 1971, the Soviet Union stood at the frontier of space. From the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, engineers prepared humanity's boldest leap yet. On April 19th, Salyut 1 roared into Earth orbit, the world's first space station. A cylindrical laboratory now circled the planet, waiting for its crew. Salyut 1 proved humans could live and work in orbit. Its legacy flows directly through Mir to the International Space Station, home to astronauts every day since. In 1993, the Branch Davidian compound near Waco, Texas, became the center of a tense 51-day standoff between federal agents and cult leader David Koresh. On April 19th, the FBI moved in with armored vehicles. Fire erupted and spread rapidly through the compound, killing 76 people, including more than 20 children. The Waco tragedy sparked fierce debate over government overreach and directly inspired the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing, reshaping American militia movements forever.